What is good, everybody? It is your boy Pat the Designer back at it again. How are y'all feeling today, Chicago? Super Bowl weekend is here, and our beloved Chicago Bears are not in it. So we have to look forward to next season and see where we can improve. So with that being said, I am going to give you 5 players, not only free agents, but also possible trades that the Bears should be looking into going into this 2020 offseason right after this. In the immortal words of one Ringo J. Cue the intro, baby!
On 1, on 2, on 3.
Stop it! Did not do him like that! Mercy! Did you not get the memo?
So before we get into the video, if you're a Chicago sports fan, please like the video. Please subscribe to the page because we do talk Chicago sports weekly. We want to make sure that you don't miss a thing, so hit that bell. Number 5 on my list today, a name that is maybe not at the top of a lot of people's list because he did go on season-ending IR last year. And in the last couple of seasons has had some injury issues. But I believe that if you're able to add some young depth at a good price, you have to look at Ronald Darby. His numbers aren't really anything to wow you, but he does his job well. Only had a couple picks last season, like I said, due to the injury issues. Probably could have got those numbers up, 11 pass defenses, but he's good at his job. He stays home and doesn't take a big number. You know, I think he made $6.5 million last season, so you could probably get him coming into this season at a decent number. He's very young, 26 years old, so you're adding youth on the other side of Kyle Fuller, which is something that we don't have right now with Prince Amukamara. I'm not saying that this is a home run move, but I think that we do need to shore up that secondary, and so Ronald Darby is a good name to look at. I think he's somebody Ryan Pace should take a decent time to look at, and because I think he's better than a lot of the guys on the market. You know what I'm saying? Like Eli Apple is not somebody that I think the Bears are going to be looking to bring in, and he's cheaper than maybe a Marcus Peters. You know what I'm saying? So you have to weigh all the options because the Bears do have some holes to fix this offseason, and so they're going to need to use their money wisely. Now, number 4 on my list, you have to get this tight end position fixed, right? We've got to do it. And so I think the Bears need to really go hard, just like they did for Trey Burton, who seemed like he might work out in the beginning, but injuries have really derailed him. So you got to get it right? So I think you got to take a nice long look at Austin Hooper of the Atlanta Falcons. Now, Atlanta's probably going to do all that they can to keep Austin Hooper, and that's why I say you got to look hard and look strong and make a legitimate offer to a guy like Austin Hooper, because as we can see with Andy Reid in the Super Bowl right now, the tight end position in this offense makes a huge difference, and running out guys like Adam Shaheen just really isn't speaking to what Matt Nagy's trying to do. You know what I mean? Like, he needs a guy who Mitch can go through his progressions with, or whatever quarterback may be back there by the end of this season, and just look at him and be like, I know my guy's going to be there. I know he knows his routes. I know he's able to run his routes the right way at the right speed, and he's going to be there with the right hands to put the ball in his hand for a successful drive. And that is something that Austin Hooper could bring to the Chicago Bears. When you look at what Hooper did last year, he had a career year. This is his 4th season that he just finished up with the Atlanta Falcons, and he was able to go for 742 yards and 6 touchdowns in only 12 games. Now, Hooper's going to command some money. I mean, we're talking probably about $10 million a year for the tight end position, where right now we're paying $8 million a year for Trey Burton, but the difference is $10 million a year for production that we know is going to be there. That's the big difference. You know, it makes a difference with what we're trying to do. And like I said, that tight end is so important to what Matt Nagy wants to do, to what the Chicago Bears want to do, that it's a position of immense need. Now, you would have to free up some money to make room for Hooper, but I think that that's something that if you really want to make this offense dominant, that you have to start looking at what pieces you can cut off. Probably a Leonard Floyd, probably a Prince Amukamara, probably, you know what I'm saying? Like, you have to start looking around and being like, who can we swap out to try and finally get this offense moving in the right direction? Now, you're probably looking at me like, wow, you got the tight end that low on the list? What could be next? Listen, no matter who the Chicago Bears try to bring in a quarterback, no matter what the Chicago Bears try to do with their quarterback, they're not going to have much success at quarterback if they can't bring somebody in to block for the quarterback. You know what I mean? We've lost Kyle Long already, and Kyle Long has been on IR the last 3 seasons, I believe. So he's been a guy that's been in and out that you wanted to count on but just couldn't. No disrespect to Kyle. Injuries happen in football. We love you, Kyle. Enjoy retirement. But you've got to find some pieces, veteran pieces, to help lead this offensive line. And that's why I'm looking at a guy like Anthony Costanzo. He's a left tackle right now playing for the Indianapolis Colts, and you're going to have some competition. I mean, he's probably the most wanted offensive lineman that's going to be a free agent in this 2020 free agency. You're looking at a guy that at this point is 31 years old, but up to this point has been one of the more durable players in the league, especially at that position. He's only missed 12 games since being drafted in 2011 and has been a staple of the Indianapolis Colts offensive line up to this point. If you could bring him in here with Cody Whitehair, with James Daniels, trying to get those guys, you know, they're guys who understand their position but maybe just need that leadership to hold everything together. I think that this could be the guy for you. Now, it's going to cost you some money, you know what I'm saying? He's going to want the stability. He's not coming for a 1-2 year deal. You're going to probably have to put down a 4-year deal, probably talking, what, $70 million at least? $40 million guaranteed, maybe $45 million guaranteed. It's going to be some big money, and you're going to have to move some guys around to make it work. But listen, if you can bring stability to an offensive line that even if you're putting Mitch back there and protecting him and allowing him time to pass the ball, that at least he's got a shot, at least he's got a chance to improve this season, to take a step this season. At least he's got time to try and be great. You know what I'm saying? That's all we can hope for. And so I think that bringing in Anthony Costanzo really could shore up things for the Chicago Bears. Before we continue with the video, I want to know in the comments below some free agents or trades that you think the Chicago Bears should possibly be looking into making going into this offseason. Now, number 2 on my list. If you don't want to pay the big money, you still got to find a guy, right? You still got to go look for a guy who's going to be talented at the offensive line position. If they don't want to pay the big money to Costanzo, I think you got to look at a guy who was on the Cleveland Browns last season. And I know everybody's like, Cleveland Browns? Are you kidding me right now? Are we talking about Cleveland Browns? Are you talking about the Cleveland Browns? Take it easy. He's a pretty good player. Greg Robinson, another left tackle. Browns got him on a 1-year deal last year for about $6.5 million. So that number is much lower. And I'd say there's probably a little bit of a production gap between Costanzo and Robinson, but you're getting a solid veteran, probably at a much better number, who's able to come in and do his job and keep his name out of the announcers' mouths. That's really what you want. You want a guy who's doing his job, able to keep his head down, and able to help the other guys on this offense. A solid veteran. He gets a little bit younger, so you're getting some youth on that offensive line as well. And I think that he could come in and he could provide a nice little boost for the Chicago Bears, just a little bit more depth on that offensive line and some protection for whatever quarterback is back there. Now, number 1 on my list. Now, when we get the number 1 on my list, we know that the Chicago Bears need a quarterback, right? Right? We all know that. We believe that anyway. Unless Mitchell Trubisky takes some astronomical step into this offseason going into next season, we believe that there should be another quarterback in the room. Most Bears fans, I would say. And we've put out videos talking about should the Bears bring in Tom Brady? Should the Bears, what 5 quarterbacks should the Bears be looking at this offseason? And there's a name that people have brought up, but I don't think they've brought up seriously, and I think we need to. And that name for me is Nick Foles. And I'll give you a few reasons why. First reason, coaches. Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace have done a good job kind of setting up this coaching staff with coaches that Foles is already familiar with, right? When Foles was drafted to Philly in 2012, Matt Nagy was there as the offensive quality control coach. When Matt Nagy was in Kansas City, Foles was one of the backups there and actually got into a few games in 2016. Bears bringing in Bill Lazor as the offensive coordinator. Bill Lazor came into the NFL with Chip Kelly to be the quarterback coach of who? Oh yeah, Nick Foles. And lastly, you take a look at John DeFilippo, who was quarterback in Philly in one of the greatest Philadelphia seasons we've seen, where a backup steps in, takes your team all the way to the Super Bowl. Who was that backup? Anybody? Anybody? Bueller? Nick Foles! Now, I know a lot of people are going to say, well, yeah, but look at the salary. The salary's not going to line up for the Bears. How are they going to be able to pay a guy like Nick Foles to be the backup? He's not going to be the backup. He'd probably come in and take this job in a week. But when you look at how the salary kind of breaks down, it's not as bad, and the Bears honestly could manage. So the Jags paid Nick Foles an $88 million contract for 4 years, right? So if the Jaguars kept Foles this season, because you can't cut him, that would kill you. You can't cut him. If they kept him this season, it would be about $22 million that you owe him. Now, the problem with that is they're sticking with Gardner Minshew. So you've got a $22 million backup quarterback on your team. Now, to me, it makes more sense for the Jaguars to be looking for trade partners, because if you trade them this season, you get an $18 million hit, which still is a hit, but you lose that long-term hit, right? You lose the rest of that contract because Foles is signed through 2022. Now, say the Bears do trade for him, bring him in, get him into the system, blah, blah, blah. They would still have to pay that signing bonus, which is the $18 million that I spoke of. But it would save them about $3 million in cap space, and the team that trades for him is only taking on about $15 million for the next season. Now, it may seem like a lot for Nick Foles. $15 million for Nick Foles? Are you kidding me? But think about what quarterbacks are making year to year to year. And we've seen this work before, right? We've seen the Tennessee Titans do this same model this season and have it work. Now, was Ryan Tannehill the end-all be-all at the quarterback position? No, but you put a big money quarterback, Marcus Mariota, on the bench so that you could continue to win. That's a model that I think the Bears might need to look at. Now, Mitch's hit to the cap is only about, I think, $9 or $10 million, so it's not huge, but the Bears will be able to bring him in, pay him $15 million this year, and then about $20 million each of the next seasons, which is okay on the Bears cap. And listen, at the end of the day, if you can pay $100 million to anybody that could possibly fix the quarterback position in the NFL, you need to look into doing that. I'm not saying that Nick Foles is maybe what we saw in that 2017 season. I'm not saying that he's one of the top quarterbacks in the league. I'm saying that he's a quarterback who understands the system, who you can get at a decent price for quarterbacks yearly, and who you can bring in right away, get them in, and be like, look, you know the system. You know what this play is. You know what this call is. You know where these receivers are supposed to be. Just get them the ball. If nothing else, Nick Foles is a fairly accurate quarterback, which is something that the Chicago Bears need right now behind that offensive line. But I believe that I've babbled on enough about this topic. You know what I'm saying? So, with that being said, let me know in the comments below, do you think the free agents and or trades that I mentioned are ones that the Bears should look into making? Do you have different free agents that you think that the Chicago Bears should be looking into, or possible trades that the Chicago Bears should be looking into going into this offseason? I am going to get up out of here, though. It is your boy, Pat the Designer, back at it again. Make sure to like the video. Make sure to subscribe to the page. Rest in power, Mamba. Y'all stay safe out here, man. Peace.